All right, we're in Proverbs 19. We pick it up in verse 21, where we read, "There are many plans in a man's heart, in a person's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel, that will stand." If you are a planner today, you're about to get beat up, so just buckle up. But I want you to know, it wasn't my plan to beat you up. It's God's plan, okay? So I'll read it again, just so you can brace against the truth of what's said here. "There are many plans in a person's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel, that will stand." Now, understand that it is within the nature of mankind to make plans and to prepare for the future. That's good, that's right. It should happen, okay? This is not speaking against making plans. Rather, it's identifying the fact that plans are not the problem, but there are problems with plans. So today, we're going to talk about 3 of those problems. The first is this: the perfect problem. The perfect problem. And what I mean by that is thinking our plans are perfect. And if you are a planner, this is perhaps the most common problem that any planner will face. The plans are made by someone who is very well thought out, by someone who is wise. Therefore, the plans are well thought out, the plans are wise. They don't need any input from anybody. Why? Because they're already perfect. If you touch it, you'll just muddy perfection. Okay? So when these perfect plans are presented to God, if, I should say, these perfect plans are presented to God, they're not presented for his approval. No, the planner who is prideful is presenting their plans to God almost for his admiration and his applause. Oh man, son, daughter, if others could just take a look at your planner, man, amazing, truly amazing. Now guys, there are 2 huge issues that arise within this first problem. Issue number 1, and like all the time this comes up in counseling sessions. Number 1, blaming God. Blaming God. What happens, you see, when those perfect plans don't work out? I mean, whose fault is that? Who's going to be blamed? Well, the planner has backed themselves into a corner while at the same time shooting themselves in the foot because their plans are perfect. And if they are perfect, well, then when they don't work out, it has to be because of something outside of the plans that they've made. Usually that means outside of themselves. This usually is when people turn their judgmental gaze upon the judge of the universe. Why would he, they'll say, change my plans? It's very, very, very common, right? Someone will say, I was going to retire at 35 and travel the world with my wife. It wasn't in my plans for her to get sick. Why is she sick? Why can't we travel? I mean, you're going to get married, you're going to have lots of kids. What do you mean you and your wife can't get married? Can't get pregnant. You guys are married. That was stupid. You can't get pregnant. You go, well, God, what's the deal? This was our plan. Our plan was to have like 8 kids, and we're going to be the best parents ever. What's going on, right? You're going to get married at 25. What do you mean? That everyone thinks you're a jerk, and no one wants to give you their entire life, right? That wasn't in my plan. When I look in the mirror, I don't see a jerk. That's just what everybody else sees. God, what's wrong with you? Why did you make me this way? You see, guys, if your plans are perfect, that means that if God changes them, you take it as a personal attack. Because God changed the plan. He's doing something to ruin your perfect life. Again, it was Tozer, and again, it was this book. He says this: much of our difficulty as seeking Christians stems from our unwillingness, please listen, our unwillingness to take God as he is and adjust our lives, and dare I even say, adjust our plans accordingly. We insist upon trying to modify him and to bring him nearer to our own image. God, no, you don't get to touch this. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. This is how my life is supposed to work out. I wasn't supposed to get fired. I wasn't supposed to get injured. I wasn't supposed to get this prognosis. This isn't how things are supposed to be. Guys, we will be freed from blaming God when we accept God for who he is and we believe that his plans are good. We're freed from this, okay? Number 2 issue with believing our plans are perfect, not just blaming God, but how about bypassing God? Bypassing God. It's not just blaming this now fictitious, imperfect God who ruined our perfect plans, but it's also bypassing God's wisdom and God's will because your plans are perfect. And if your plans are perfect, well, then why would you even consider God? Just go right past. Is this not what James addresses in James chapter 4? Listen to what he says, verses 13 through 15. He says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to such and such a place, or such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell, and make a profit. Whereas do you not know what will happen tomorrow?" Whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears a little time and then vanishes away. The idea of that is a breath on like a window. It's just there, and then it dissolves. Instead, he says, verse 15, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we shall live and do this or that. Now, I just want to back up to verse 13 just so you can hear how extreme it sounds. Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell, make a profit. None of us would hear somebody say that. None of us would hear if somebody said, yeah, so this next year we're going to move to Gainesville, we're going to start this business, and we hope by the end of the year it'll be profitable. None of us are going to go, you sinner. You disgust me. Like, truly disgust me. Like, that is gross carnality, what just poured out of your mouth, like foul. We're not going to do that. No, in fact, we're going to go, what's wrong with that? Like, how is God correcting somebody saying, we're just going to go to Gainesville? I mean, I guess you could be corrected for going to Gainesville, but you get it. How can God correct somebody for saying, we're just going to go to such and such a city, and we're going to buy and sell, and we're going to make a profit by year's end? Like, how is this correctable? We read this and we go, what's wrong with that? Well, there's actually two problems that James is addressing. Number one, he's addressing practical atheism. Practical atheism. As believers, we're not atheists. We believe God. We believe God is the creator of everything, right? But this person that James is talking about lives believing that, they don't live believing God isn't real, but they live as if he wasn't real. They believe he's real, but they live as if he wasn't. They don't consider God in their plans at all. They give God parts of their plans, sure, like the parts about praying and going to church, yeah, fine, he can have that. But these other parts, making a profit and doing these things, I'm not going to pray about that. I'm not going to consider it because I already have it all mapped out. I got the 30-year plan. It's good. It's fine. God doesn't need to touch it. Not only, though, is it practical atheism, but number two, it's presuming authority. Now listen. You're presuming that you have the authority. That's what you're doing when we do this, right? And this is so foolish, though. Why? Well, first of all, because we're so limited. We are limited in power. There is absolutely nothing you can do to assure that your plan is going to work out perfectly. Nothing. And you go, oh, yeah, I'll prove it. I'm going to go home right now. I'm going to make this whole presentation, and I'll disprove you, Pastor. What happens if you get in a car accident on the way home? It is not within your power to do it. You're limited. Number two, you're limited not only in power, but in knowledge. We lack foresight. But it's easy to fall for this false belief that we know what will happen the next second, the next minute, the next hour, the next day, the next year. We don't. To put this idea to rest, I'll quote from Spurgeon, who said it best. Listen. He says, there are two great certainties about things that shall come to pass. Okay? About future events. One is that God knows. And the other is that we don't know. Isn't that good? Like that's it. Those are the only two certainties. So James goes on with this idea. He says in verse 14, for what is life? It is even a vapor that appears a little time and then vanishes away. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but what we do know for certainty is that life is brief. And so if life is brief and we are dead set on making plans, let's plan to be thankful for what we have. How about that? Let's plan to enjoy family, to enjoy friends. And if we lived in a different city, we could even enjoy food, right? We make plans. We plan to live with joy, plan to hug your kids a little longer, plan to tell people that you love them, that you actually do love them, right? Above all, plan to fervently serve Jesus for however long you have. If it's a second, if it's a decade, whatever. Or longer than a decade. For those of you who got nervous, I stopped at a decade. We go on then, and James finishes by saying in verse 15 of chapter 4, Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we shall live and do this or that. Now, we pause on this, and once again, you've heard me say it so many times, we want to fight legalism within our church, okay? So we're going to make sure that we understand that we do not do this legalistically. We're not always going to sit here and nitpick and think and hear, listen keenly for people to say this exact phrase, right? So after church, you go, hey, where are you going to go to lunch? And they go, I really want Chick-fil-A, but alas, I can't. For today is Sunday, right? So I'm just going to go with the next best, and that's Chipotle. Now you all want Chick-fil-A. I'm sorry, but now you're going to all want Chipotle. So you go, me and my family, we're going to go to Chipotle. I don't want any of us to go, don't you mean if the Lord wills? I mean, that's how I talk. Guys, James's point isn't to get us to tack at the end of what we're saying this little phrase, okay? That's legalistic. His point is to say, submit every part of your plan, no matter how big or small, to God. That's it. That you live your life in submission to His plan. Remember that you're not perfect, only He is. So, yeah, we're going to go to this place, we're going to do this and that. If God wills, great. If not, is this not what's also given? If not, then fine. He has the editing rights to my life. Okay, we have the perfect problem. Number 2, we have the permanent problem. And this is the byproduct of the first problem. When we think our plans are perfect, we set them in stone. We make them permanent. We hang our hopes and dreams on those plans. And when we make our plans permanent, we remove God's ability to edit. We go, you don't need the red pen. You're fine. My plans are perfect. In fact, you'd give me an A++. You would be so impressed with these plans, you'd give me extra credit. I promise. You keep the red pen in the drawer. Guys, when we make our plans permanent, unfortunately, we set ourselves up for failure. Because if, or maybe I should say when, something doesn't work out the way that we want it to, well, then now we view ourselves as a failure. I've seen it so many times. It's difficult to recover from that. The person will then battle being angry and depressed because they go, I don't get it. I had it all planned out. It was supposed to be this way, and it's not this way. And so some people, they take it upon themselves. They become angry with God and depressed within. But not only are we setting ourselves up for failure, but if you're married and you do this, you're setting your spouse up for failure. Because we are planning on the fact that they're going to be the solution to all of our problems. Man, as soon as I get married. Do you guys remember that? I'm glad you think that's funny. Before you got married, you're like, oh, you'd swoon when they'd walk in the room, right? Like, you had to fan yourself all the time, just the thought of the person. And you thought, man, guys, I remember thinking before Betsy and I got married, I was like, Lord, Maranatha, yes. Yes, return, Jesus. Come and rapture your church so we could spend eternity in your presence. If you could just do it, maybe like 2 months after I get married, like, that'd be great. I mean, that's such upside down, backwards thinking. Like, Lord, before I'm in your presence, can I just be married for a little bit, right? You see, what ends up happening when we have thoughts like this is we elevate the spouse to be the answer to all of our problems. And more than that, we then say, you have to be the answer to my problems by being this way. And so we put these expectations upon our spouse to solve the problems that, side note, they didn't know they were trying to solve, just so you know. And so then they don't solve the problems, and we now set them up for failure, and it leads to a huge divide within the marriage. I've seen it a bunch of times. I was going to say 1,000 times, but I thought that's probably an exaggeration. I've seen it a lot, though, okay? Sub-1,000. Triple digits, though. Guys, when we make plans permanent, we not only set up ourselves for failure and our spouses for failure, but if you have kids, you set your kids up for failure. They have to become a certain way. They have to succeed in certain things. They have to achieve a certain amount of success. The parent, I've seen it so many times, and so have you, they live through their kid. Their kid hits a home run, and you look at them like they hit a home run. Their kid makes the honor roll, they made the honor roll, right? It's crazy. They derive pleasure from the child being exactly who they planned on them being. And if the kid turns out to be different than their parents' plan, if they are less successful in the areas that the parents stress and emphasize, I've seen it, you've seen it, the relationship is strained. They go, yeah, I couldn't be who my mom and dad wanted me to be. I failed. I fell short of their goal for me. It wasn't my goal, it was theirs, and it strains. This is the permanent problem. We have the perfect problem, the permanent problem. Number 3, we have the pleasure problem. This is when one does not include God or anything godly in their plans at all. They make only selfish plans. There's nothing to do with sacrifice. There's nothing to do with service. All their plans only have to do with their own pleasure. Guys, let's just think about this. We make plans, we make sacrifices for the football field, Some people are athletes and you grind away, man. You diet, you exercise. But for the rest of us, we're just fans. And listen, you live in Jacksonville. You have been gifted the worst team ever. Ever. I'm just horrible. It's just so bad. So it's like a joke, right? And so you save up all of this money, you carve out all of this time so that you can go over and over and over again to almost like the Coliseum to watch just an actual physical slaughter take place. Can we even call it a game, right? Sacrifice upon sacrifice upon sacrifice upon sacrifice. We make all these sacrifices for the football field. And yet none for the mission field. We make plans for vocation or vacation, but we make no plans for ministry, service. Now, guys, I want you to know, I'm not saying this to give you a guilt trip or to coerce you into some way to serve. Like, none of you guys are serving. Well, just so you know, we got a lot of opportunity in the kids' ministry. That's not this, okay? The point is to challenge now listen, us, myself included. Okay, here's a challenge. How can our faith be most important? How can it be most important if we never make plans involving it? No plans. Zero to do with our faith. But man, we know we're going on vacation. We have the 30-year plan for our job, right? We know for sure we're going to be season ticket holders next year for the Jaguars. Like, we know this. Make all these plans. But anything about our faith? No plans for that. Guys, honestly, I want you to challenge yourself. When was the last time you honestly made yourself completely available to God? Where you laid all of your plans, laid your entire life, said to the Lord, Lord, I will do anything in life that you want me to do. Anything. I don't care what it is. I will do anything you want me to do. I will go anywhere you want me to go. I'll say anything you want me to say. My life is yours, every part of it. From my present to my future, it's all yours. Why? Because of what it says in this proverb. Look again, verse 21. There are many plans in the man's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel, that will stand. You go, Lord, here's all of my plans, but change them however you want. Whatever you want, change it. People ask me, do you plan on staying at Reach? And I go, yeah, my plan is the rest of my life. I have no plans to move. I have no plans to do anything else but pastor this church. But if God calls me on, I need to listen. He hasn't, and no opportunities. I want you guys thinking like, is Pastor Eric moving? No, nothing like that, okay? We love living here, okay? I love pastoring this church, but that's my plan. So I submit it to God. Lord, this is what I would like, but whatever you want. I'll go wherever you want me to go. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Because his plans, that's what will stand. All right, I beat up the planners enough. You guys good? All right, on to beat up other people. Verse 22. It says, what is desired in a man, and again, that's just a general term for a person. What is desired in a person is kindness. And a poor man is better than a liar. Now, there are two interpretations to this enigmatic proverb. In the original language, it's hard to translate the word kindness. Like, what does it actually mean? So, two interpretations I'll give you. Number one is kindness shown is best. Kindness demonstrated is best. That would be the first interpretation. Whereas, conversely, being unreliable, which in this instance, being unreliable would be this. Kindness claimed, but not demonstrated. Oh, I'm super kind. I can help you, but then not showing up. Okay? So essentially, kindness shown is best, whereas being unreliable is worse than poverty. The idea of the first part of the proverb, at least within this first interpretation, is that when someone performs an act of kindness towards others, everyone loves that. There is nothing better than simple, genuine kindness. We see this clearly in the life of Jesus because there is no better example of kindness than Jesus, who liberally lavished his kindness upon, listen, all. Not some, all. Things to note about Jesus' kindness: he wasn't only kind to those who could help him. He wasn't only kind to those who were kind to him. I'm just trying to identify the song. That was good. He wasn't only kind to those who were deserving. And if you want proof of that, just look at his disciples. They ain't deserving. I'm convinced that God was like, all right, I'm going to pick these 12 because then nobody after them could ever say, I can't be used by God. Because look at him, right? He wasn't only kind to those who were likable. What's more, he wasn't only kind when well rested. Just saying, right? Is this not what we do? Guys, in short, you could say this. He never made an excuse. This is the target. He never made an excuse to not be kind. Isn't that good? Never made an excuse to not be kind. He's like, no, I will be kind. I'm choosing to be kind. But Jesus, you're exhausted. Jesus, you're hungry. Jesus, you have the stress of these clowns that you're dealing with. Jesus, you are the target of the enemy and constantly kind. Now, all this then is the goal for the Christ follower, to unrelentingly show kindness to everyone. To everyone. Now, the idea of the second part of the proverb within this first interpretation, at least, is being unreliable then is worse than poverty. To claim that you're kind but never demonstrate kindness is worse than being poor. In other words, he's saying it's worse than worst case scenario. I mean, guys, let's just flesh this out. Is there anything worse than when you have to move and you have a friend who has a truck? Thank God for our friends with trucks, right? And you ask your friend, hey, I have to move on Tuesday. Is there any way you can bring yourself and more importantly, that truck that you have to help me move? Now, if you have a friend that goes, absolutely, buddy, I got you. I will be there Tuesday ready to go, right? I'll bring bagels for the whole crew. Like, I'm there. I got you. You're like, awesome. And then you show up Tuesday, no one's there. You give him a call, doesn't answer. Never hear from him. Is that not exceedingly worse than if you ask your friend, hey, buddy, can you help me Tuesday? And he goes, no. And you go, well, why? Because I don't want to. I didn't buy a truck to help you move, right? And you go like, okay, I know where I stand, right? But isn't that better? Because then you go, all right, well, on to my next friend who has a truck, right? You're not standing there on Tuesday going, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move the stuff from here to there because I had a friend who claimed kindness but didn't follow through. You see? It's far worse, far worse. So the application is this. Don't be like that. Don't be unreliable. If you claim kindness, then prove it. Second interpretation of this enigmatic proverb is this. Loyalty trumps lying. Loyalty trumps lying. In the second interpretation, the word kindness is actually interpreted as loyalty. And the commentators that I could find were split. Okay, some went this way, some went this way. This is saying that what people desire in another person is their loyalty. To know that they're trustworthy, to know that you can depend on them, to know that you can give them. Think of people like this in life. You can give them information and know it's not going anywhere, right? Trustworthy. To know that they always have your best interest in mind. Now, you contrast that loyalty in this proverb with the liar. They claim these things, but they never follow through. They, in fact, are the opposite of loyal. They are not trustworthy. You cannot depend on them. You cannot trust them with information, and you never know if they have your best interest in mind. Solomon's point is one of contrast. It's best to be loyal, and it's worse to be a liar. Worse even than worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, poverty. So, application, be loyal. Be trustworthy. Be a confidant. If someone comes to you and they say, hey, please don't share this with anyone, don't. And if you go, ooh, I just know me. I know I might, then say that. Go, actually, I don't want to tempt myself. Okay, just keep it. Let's keep it. All right, we move on now to the third and final proverb, a proverb of review. Look, it's a 3-point proverb. It says this, verse 23, the fear of the Lord leads to life. That's point 1. And he who has it, that's the fear of the Lord, will abide in satisfaction. That's point 2. And he will not be visited with evil. That's point 3. Now, notice, once again, we circle back to this familiar foundation of the Proverbs, and that is the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is to live a life that reveres the Lord. Imagine your physical reaction to walking into God's actual throne and seeing him in his actual person. That is the fear of the Lord. You would have fear and trepidation. You would revere him. And if we revere him, our hearts are full of awe when we think of him. Your heart can be full of awe just by seeing creation, right? Seeing how intricate it is. The more microscopic you go. Seeing how vast it is, just looking through a telescope, right? You're in awe of him. To revere him means that you obey him because you see him as greater than yourself. To revere him is to understand then it's a privilege to serve him. Now I want you to notice, according to this proverb, there are three results of fearing him. Number one is sustentation. I didn't know that was a word either. And so I went to thesaurus.com and figured out that it was one, okay? Meaning being sustained, right? The fear of the Lord leads to life. When you fear the Lord, your life is sustained through him. That means that your motivation for truly living comes from him. Meaning you're kind because he was kind to you. You show mercy because he showed mercy to you. You forgive because he forgave you. Meaning that your life doesn't fall apart because you are sustained by him. No trial can steal your actual life from you because you're sustained by Christ. No person can rob you of hope because you are sustained by Christ. Sustentation. Number two, satisfaction. We find that in the middle of the proverb where it says, he who has it, that's the fear of the Lord, will abide in satisfaction. I love this. If you're a good sleeper, you're going to like this too. The literal translation says, the fear of the Lord leads to satisfying sleep. Now, we stream most things that we watch, so we don't see a lot of commercials. But when I do see commercials, at least the top three is about sleep, right? Like, take this to sleep better. Like sleep, 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 sleep. All these things about sleep, right? That tells me because people don't sleep well. If you want to sleep well, God's like, I got you covered. Just open up this book. All you got to do is fear me. All you got to do is live in reverent awe of the Lord, because if your life is in his hands and you've actually seen him, you go, oh, I'm good. I'm good. You can leave the front door wide open when you go to bed, right? Because who cares? God's got you. Don't do that, though. I'm just saying you could. And then number three, speaking of that, we have safety. Safety. Look at what it says. He will not be visited with evil. If you've been a Christian longer than a day, you've heard it said, there is no safer place to be than in the hands of God. Now let's explain first what that doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that no evil, zero evil will ever visit you. I think that's obvious. Horrible things can still happen to you even if you fear the Lord. Even if you fear him more than almost anyone else in human history. And just a cursory look at the life of Paul proves that emphatically, doesn't it? I mean, Paul feared the Lord as much as anyone in human history, and yet he had so much evil that happened to him. It doesn't mean that bad things won't happen to you. It also doesn't mean that all the good things that you want, they're coming your way. You want the new car? Name it and claim it, blab it and grab it. It's yours, baby. Just say it by faith. You want a Ferrari? Lord, Jesus, I claim that Ferrari. It doesn't mean that, okay? Definitely doesn't mean that. No, guys, what this means is that life that is sustained by the fear of the Lord, the life that finds satisfaction in the Lord, that life cannot be touched by evil. What I mean is the devil cannot rob you of the life that God gave you. Man, you can have your health stripped from you. You can have all of your rights taken away from you. You can be thrown into prison, but no one can touch the joy that God gives to you. Because that is his life. That comes from being sustained by him. No evil can touch it. It's beautiful. It was Ross in his commentary who said it this way. He said, when one lives a life of piety, serving the Lord provides a quality of life that cannot be disrupted by such evil. The most godly people I know live out that verse. So guys, in conclusion, there is no better life than a life that's sustained by the Lord. May we not confuse ourselves in our pursuits of other things to bring us satisfaction. May we not trust in our plans, but rather in our provider. May we not trust in ourselves, but rather in our Savior. May we fear the Lord and live for his glory. Amen? All right, let's stand, let's pray, and we'll sing a final song before we go. Father, thank you so much for all that you do for us. Thank you, Lord, for the good that you do for us. That even in the midst of unspeakable evil, you still will produce good. Thank you that a life that is sustained by you is a life that evil cannot touch. That the devil can never have our hope. He can never have our joy. He can never have the sacrificial love that you have demonstrated for us. Thank you for the life that you give to us. And Lord, now we just want to lay our lives completely down at your feet. We want to see you elevated and in your proper position. So we lay our lives down and we ask, Lord, that you will do whatever you want. And I pray that we would listen, that we would obey. If you want to send us somewhere, send us somewhere. If you want to change something, change something. Whatever you want to do, we submit to you. We love you, Jesus. We praise you, and it's in your name that we pray. Amen.